How can you explain why one person wins the lottery or another person walks away completely unscathed from a totaled car accident? Or somebody else gets a common cold and dies? Or someone survives a plane crash when nobody else on board does? One way to explain all these things is through the idea of karma. Karma is both a mystery and a science. Like this image is kind of mysterious, representing the wheel of reincarnation and the wheel of karma. Karma is often noticed when bad things happen. Karma can bring up the idea of punishment, fear, anger, resentment, and suffering. When we feel negative emotions, we suffer. But if we understand karma more fully, we can find our way out of the maze this world presents to us and move beyond suffering and negativity to a fully peaceful and satisfied life, regardless of what happens to us. Some of you don't know me. My name is Mauran. I'm an interdimensional channel, artist, and I've written 4 books. 2 have conversations with Jesus in them, although I'm not associated with any religion, and I never grew up with any religion. Jesus is my primary spirit guide. And I was assigned this talk on karma back in January by my spirit guides. And I thought, that's kind of an unusual topic. And then I realized that I've been interested in the laws of the universe and karma for 20 years. But I never really thought of it in terms of just karma. I would see the suffering that so many of us experience on this earth, and I wanted to understand what was happening behind the scenes of our existence so that we might stop suffering and start enjoying. Because a life of suffering is no way to live on this earth. And I knew at some level that it was not necessary. The study of karma is one way to understand how to move beyond suffering. On Monday, I was drawn into a Habitat for Humanity store, and I had the intuition to look at all their images because I thought maybe as I was preparing these slides, there would be something for me there. And I found this magazine called These Times. It's a 60-year-old magazine. And in it, there is an article called God and Human Suffering. We are made perfect through suffering by Paul Huback. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, that's so old-fashioned. We don't need to suffer anymore. And then I read the article. And what he says in the article is that we grow through suffering. We grow to understand the laws of life and to live in harmony with them. He says we're made perfect by suffering. Perfect in his mind is when we become more stable, strengthened, and settled in how we are in the world. And suffering, he says, also makes us aware of our actions against ourselves, each other, and our Creator. And as well, suffering gives us the opportunity to help others more effectively because we are more compassionate and able to identify with their situation. And with chagrin, I realized that in truth, it is suffering that is one of the really strong mechanisms that leads us to growth in this world. I know for myself, I have only changed my diet significantly when I was forced to by symptoms in the body that required it. So I had to suffer. I had to move beyond my comfort zone in order to instill change in my life. And now is a really potent time on earth for change. And the study of karma can give us all those benefits that Huback, the author, says suffering gives us. But we can do it without the suffering now. So I propose we cut suffering out of our growth equation and add love into it instead. Suffering puts us out of our comfort zone by its very definition. And so what we need to do in order to be effective at this is learn to love outside of our comfort zone as well. Karma is a system based on love. It's not created to punish, but to serve our growth and understanding of this world, to make us wise and to expand our perspective, because it works on a premise that is just not obvious to us. Karma is based in non-duality, or a world of only one without a second. This is a non-dual world, and karma is a system that helps us learn that truth. Karma is a relational construct that's based on love, because non-duality isn't just a nice idea. It's the truth of this situation we live in on Earth. And every interaction I have is with myself. And thus it makes sense to love myself and to discourage myself from hurting others, which is what karma ultimately does. So I'd like to talk about what karma's definition is, its qualities and attributes, the field of engagement, and the laws of the universe, our 4 karmic responsibilities for taking action, which I've taken from the study of Vedanta, and karma yoga, an age-old proven practice that helps us to manufacture beneficial karma. And finally, who am I, and how may I overcome the karma wheel once and for all? My studies of Vedanta have helped me to understand karma, and many aspects of this talk are from Vedanta teachers. Vedanta is a proven means of knowledge for understanding life and who we truly are. I'd like to acknowledge and offer gratitude to all the teachers of the present day and the past that have made this possible. Specifically, Ramji James Swartz, Swami Svatmananda, Swami Dayananda, Swami Paramarthananda, Sal Rakelli, Raymond Hollowell, Mark Newkirk, whose work I've used as well. So let's dive into the beginning of this talk. What is karma? Karma is a noun. It's the effect of past actions from this or previous lifetimes. The law of karma is that of action and reaction, cause and effect, sowing and reaping. By their thoughts and actions, human beings become the molders of their own destinies. Whatever energies a person has set into motion, wisely or unwisely, must return to that person as their starting point, like a circle inexorably completing itself. An individual's karma follows him or her from incarnation to incarnation until fulfilled or spiritually transcended. That definition is from Self-Realization Fellowship's booklet called Spiritual Marriage by Brother Anandamoy. And karma is action from free will, the effects of past actions from this life and a prior life. Karma follows us lifetime to lifetime. Actions from all of our free will endeavors have always had seen and unseen results. Our actions are like ripples in the water. When we throw a stone in the water, we see the ripples on top of the surface, but we don't see what happens underneath the water and how the stone hits the ground underneath the water. And that's like the unseen result of all our actions. And then karma is the consequences of our actions as well. And it includes our thoughts and actions, which create our destinies. And the energies we set in motion, our emotions, our thoughts, all return to us as our starting point in a next lifetime. So karma is like an endless circle completing itself. And karma ultimately may be either fulfilled or spiritually transcended. And that's really the meat of this talk. We'll get to more of that in a minute. So the moment I do an action, a karma, the universal laws take over and process the karma, creating the quality of karma the action initiated. It's handed back to me as seen and unseen results. And karma is invisible. It can be seen most easily by its effects. That stone that was dropped into the water here, the effects underneath the water are invisible. And that's the way karma sometimes catches us. We don't realize the impact of what we are doing in the world. And karma is also duty, or dharma is the Sanskrit word. Our many life roles require certain karmas. For example, as a parent, we need to take care of our children and serve all their needs until they're of a certain age. So all the roles we play in life are our karma-driven duty roles. And karma is an impersonal construct in the way money is impersonal. And it helps us to do business with everyone else and to grow in compassion, love, and cooperation. Karma is also an impersonal structure that facilitates soul growth. So karma is not a punishment for past life sins. You do not come back and suffer because of something you did in a past lifetime. This is not accurate. There are actually two definitions of karma, one of which is really the law of cause and effect. The other aspect of karma is that souls desire to learn certain lessons as they go through their incarnations. If a particular lesson seems to take longer to learn than the lifespan of the physical body, the lesson will be revisited in the next or subsequent lifetimes. That's from Sal Rakelli, the author of a book called Soul Integration, which has really helped me to understand more of how our souls require learning of us lifetime after lifetime in order to unify and ultimately transcend the reincarnational cycle. Karma is very much tied to reincarnation. For example, you might come back as a slave after being a slave owner in a previous life. In order to round out your soul's understanding of all the wonderful aspects of playing each and every role in the creation. So reincarnation, if you're not familiar with the topic, is the past actions of human beings set into motion the effects that draw them back to this material plane. Through a succession of births and deaths, they return to Earth repeatedly to undergo here the experiences that are the fruits of those past actions, and to continue a process of spiritual evolution that leads ultimately to realization of the soul's inherent perfection and union with God. That's from a self-realization fellowship brochure called Spiritual Marriage. That's a definition of reincarnation. And you may notice I've used much of my artwork in these slides, and that one that's on the reincarnation slide, to me, was the concentric circles of ultimately focusing back towards the center, towards the origin, towards the wholeness and the oneness of who we truly are. In Vedanta, they say that karma is like a chain, and it can be a chain of iron or a chain of gold that ties us back to reincarnation and back to this earth. So karma's definition is action from free will with seen and unseen results that serve to help our soul's growth. And so now let's talk about positive and negative karmas. Positive, or punya karma, is the Sanskrit word. It makes things go your way. And good karma comes from actions in service to the field of love and the field of life. Here's a quote from one of my spirit guides. Good karma, punya karma, generates an attractive wave force that magnetizes beneficial, lighthearted, beautiful things to an individual. And the manifestation of punya requires the focus of healing the rift between self and God. I was kind of surprised by that definition because I hadn't really thought about that part of healing the rift between self as God as being an important aspect to creating beneficial karma. But it makes good sense because karma is really all about helping us move back towards unity and oneness and seeing how we are part of a greater whole in this non-dual world. And so turning and looking toward our source or our creator and healing that relationship is one avenue for creating good karma. And when I say God here, I mean source, creator, all that is. Please replace it with whatever word works for you. I don't mean to hold you out of this conversation because that word is not something you like to use. But it is a handy word that gets us pointed in the direction of unity, oneness, and non-duality. So we gain good karma when we heal our relationship with the source of our life and the source of all our power. We become magnetic to good things as we are in service to that oneness. As individuals, we like to judge what happens as good and bad and think of ourselves as separate from the world we live in. Papa karma is the Sanskrit word for what we might call negative karma. They occur when we don't act to a high moral or physical standard, but they are opportunities for us to learn something that we are choosing and desiring to learn at perhaps a higher level of ourselves. This is from my guides. There is no such thing as negative karma. There are experiences which are not pleasant or desirable from the human perspective, yet these are great boons to an individual's spiritual growth and development that serve to uplift and harmonize the creation. Well, if you look at it, karma, if it retraces our steps, they come back to love. We might ask ourselves, where is the love in this world? Where is the love in this event? And when we understand karma, we can learn to see the good or the benefit or the love or the grace or the blessing in the difficult events that occur in our lives. We can cultivate the capacity to see from higher up, which helps in our perspective, because we're all experiencing our own perfect prescription for love. Once upon a time, I heard this story of a wealthy businessman, and he was kidnapped and held for $1 million ransom. And his family took 3 months in order to get $1 million together to buy his freedom, which they were able to do, and he was released. And that harrowing event turned into a really wonderful outcome when he went to the doctor and discovered that his health was better than it had been in years and years. Because when he was with his captors, he had eaten rice and beans and drank water. And he was not living in the same opulent lifestyle that he was used to living. He lost weight, his vital statistics improved immeasurably. And what he realized afterwards, that he did lose $1 million, but he gained his health, which was absolutely priceless. And so each and every one of us is like this wealthy businessman. We have so many aspects of good and bad karmas that will come to roost in our lives. And our opportunity is to see through the events and find the gift and the blessing within each and every one of them. So karma here in the next slide works on different size scales. It plays out individually, in groups, in corporations. Somebody told me a story of a corporate takeover or a buyout or whatever you want to call it, where a pharmaceutical company bought a genetic engineering company and for billions and billions of dollars. And shortly thereafter, the company that had been bought was served with a class action suit, And the plaintiffs were awarded $2 billion. And so the poor karma of both companies came to the forefront as in just one state, in California, this lawsuit came, and that award was so magnificently huge. And so it portends perhaps additional lawsuits in the other states as well. So karma plays out at different levels, corporate, government, etc. And one thing is for sure, that our material success is fleeting in life. And karma is ultimately a spiritual game, because ultimately this is a spiritual world and a spiritual field we're playing within, and a spiritual game behind it all. So karmic actions are measured by their spiritual influence. Here's a quote and an image I just love. The quote is, "Mere material success is worthless," by Swami Paramartananda. And the mere is capitalized because material success is important and we need to tend to it. But if that's where we start, we really shortchange ourselves in terms of karma. This amusing photograph of the truck inside the trench is called "Driving Around." It's by Jared Handelsman. It's a photo from 1997. I got a real kick out of it. So Swami Paramartananda outlines how all karmic actions are either spiritually elevating, stagnating, or retrogressing. And this image on the slide shows how meditation brings us good energy and creates goodness in our world. That's one of my paintings as well. So karmically elevating actions are actions that we take that benefit the maximum number of beings, where we give more and take less. For example, a prayer that benefits all of creation. My friend Avis, before she even moves a muscle in the morning, she says a prayer for all of creation, for all of life. And it's open and heartfelt and loving, and she creates the world she wants to live in, and she's in gratitude for all the things she has. That sort of elevating karma first thing in the morning is an amazingly powerful practice, because it not only uplifts you, it uplifts all of creation. And that is the most potent kind of karma you can create. Swami Paramartananda calls it the most extensive and least expensive way of creating good karma. And then there are spiritually mediocre or neutral actions that might serve our own needs alone or our own family alone. For example, if we pray for our own child's success in school or something like that. And a common day at work might be like that. But what strikes me about these definitions of how our karmas can either elevate us or not is that it's really pretty simple to shift a neutrally karmic action, elevating it to a more advantageous level of karmic creation. And we can do that simply by praying for all the children of the world, praying for all creation, praying for our neighbors, our city folk, our professionals, our police force, all the beings in our world that maybe we are not directly associated with, but offering our energy and our love outward toward them is a very powerful practice. No love is ever wasted. And then there are karmic influences that are negative. And those are quite obvious probably, where we harm others or steal or hurt or lie or cheat. For example, you might consider observing your day. Here's an exercise where you would classify your actions by these measures. What percentage of my actions today were elevating or mediocre? And what percentage of my actions can I understand the seen and unseen results for? To really think about our actions at a level of depth can help prevent negative karmas down the road. And it's a good way to broadening our mind and getting us out of just the simple going through life, but really examining what we are offering to the world, what we are offering to all life and creation in every step we take. I mean, we could walk across the earth and bless the earth with each step. It takes no extra calories to do that. Here's another story about karma that's quite compelling in my mind. A mother has a blind baby, and she took the baby to an avatar, an advanced spiritual being, in order to have him heal the baby's sight, if she could get him to do that. And so she has an audience with the man, and he looks at the baby and he looks at her, and he says, well, I'd like to show you something. And he puts his hand up, and on his hand he shows a movie to the mother, where the movie shows a lord of another era cutting out the eyes of people who had not served him well. And the mother realized that this lord in the movie was the same soul as her son, who was blind in this lifetime. And the avatar said to the mother, would you still like me to heal your son's sight? And she dropped her head and said not a word and walked out, because she knew that would not serve her son's soul growth. That would rob him of the opportunity to cultivate all his other senses and to cultivate the opportunity to understand what this world is like without sight. And so we can't always know what another person's path is. We can't always know what the best thing is for each other. So that's what karma's definition is. And the next part of the talk is 6 great reasons why karma is important to understand.